And again, thank you for being here today. So we have a presentation today. I really appreciate Dada Maheshvarananda for joining us and making this conversation possible. So today we're going to have a conversation after the fire, PROUT's vision for a better Maui. And so Dada and I had this conversation, I don't remember how long ago, and we recorded it, but we thought it would be nice to share it live with you with some edited changes. And so again, thank you, Dada, for being here, and thank you all for joining us. And he's going to share a screen. Is there anything you wanted to say before we start, Dada?
Yeah, namaskar, everybody. I'm working on it. Just a second. Let me get my screen share
Love that smile, Chandrika.
going. Yes.
All right, and we'll get started. So this is a map of the island of Maui in Hawaii, and this is the town of Lahaina where my family and I have lived for decades. The town is 200 years old and was a former capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii.
You see Lahaina on the left.
Yeah, right up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
On Tuesday morning, August 8th, the electric power went out in Lahaina. The wind was fierce, breaking branches from the trees behind my house. My mother left her nearby apartment and came over to my home. She lived literally next door to me. We huddled together, watching the storm as we always done during rough times. The wind's fury peaked after lunch, and out of concern, I went outside to see how my neighbors were faring. However, the gusts were still so strong that I nearly lost my footing. Soon after, the scent of smoke wafted into, and I joked, "Who's having a barbecue in this weather?" But then the realization hit me. Another wildfire must have ignited. We have heard about one earlier which had been brought under control, but this must be new. Lahaina has witnessed its fair share of fires in the recent years, so the scent of burning grass was not entirely unfamiliar. Surprisingly, there was no warning sirens or emergency notifications. So on the islands, we have a hurricane signal or a warning system that gets tested every beginning of every month, and that did not go off. Conversations with neighbors led us to decide to remain indoors. Within minutes, though, the sky turned darker. Going outside, I was horrified to see that the smoke in the wind was now full of burning embers. Panic surged when I noticed the trees near my house catching fire. Without a second thought, I ran back inside, grabbed my mom, my dog, and our purses and dashed to my car. I also grabbed dog food, so I picked up a neighbor and we pulled out. Flames were already engulfing the building next door. As we merged onto Front Street, which is the main street in our small town, a narrow two-lane road, traffic was at a standstill, with the dense smoke restricting visibility. Chaos reigned as people scrambled for safety. Some people ran into the ocean surf where they had to wait for hours until the Coast Guard could finally rescue them. A police car was moving up the left shoulder, actually driving over people's front lawns. Instinctively, I swerved over and followed right behind him, and many others copied us. Fallen power lines impeded our path. Winding our way northward, we eventually reached an area devoid of downed electric lines and stopped. Our friend who we had picked up earlier was an employee at the Marriott Hotel. He was able to secure cots for us in a hospitality room and some granola bars. I never thought a granola bar would taste so good. The shock was a close call. We had finally said that the shock of what had happened had finally sank into us. And to be honest, we didn't even know at that point when we went to sleep what we were going to wake up to. So we actually thought we were going home the next morning. Through the sporadic cell surface, the crushing truth gradually started emerging the next day. 115 people died and did not survive. More than 2,200 structures were burned, including 5 homes belonging to our family. Yet we drew solace from the fact that we're all unharmed. Lahaina holds a special place in my heart, with our family roots extending over 5 decades. The devastation is heart-wrenching. When we lost our homes without a moment's preparation, we literally lost every possession we owned. Our clothes, computers, furniture, books, family pictures, and family heirlooms, including my grandmother's jewelry. My mother also lost her car. So I never went back to ground zero or back to the fire zone, but as you can see some of the image, everything is just gone. The entire town is pretty much been devastated. Um, and so I left a few days after the fire, and I'm here in California. But Dada, my friend Dada, made a trek to Maui after the fire to help with food distribution. And I had the opportunity to talk to Dada and during that time, and he's here, of course, here today. And so I'm really happy to be able to share this conversation. And Dada, like I asked before, was why did you come to Maui after the fire?
Yeah. Thank you for telling your story again, Krsnaprema, because there's a lot of power in the story. So, Amort and Amartel are these international sister relief organizations. They asked me to go to Maui to help with the relief work. And because I'm basically an unemployed monk, I was able to buy a ticket and depart same day from Asheville, North Carolina, where I live, to Maui. Superbata, or Steve Phillips, and his wife, Anna, they started 12 years ago, Local Harvest. Last year, tragically, Anna died. But this organization is buying fresh fruits and vegetables from 100 different farmers on Maui. They calculate they're buying about 30% of the total produce that is grown. Well, the moment the fire happened, they lost 50% of their customers. Either they've been burned out or closed down, no tourists anymore, no business because of the disaster. So they decided to immediately give away all the food they had. And 5 organizations, some of which were already, like the Homeless Heroes Hawaii, was already serving meals for the homeless people regularly. And they'd already been getting produce from Local Harvest. But now these other organizations, World Central Kitchen is the largest one. And together they were cooking and distributing every day more than 10,000 meals for the fire victims. So Local Harvest was doing that. And twice a week, they were giving away free $5,000 of fruits and vegetables to the people of Lahaina. It's a lot of food. It's a lot of produce. And it takes hours for the hundreds of people to come and get what they want. So I helped with that. And as Steve and his team plan to keep doing this for the next 2 or 3 months or as long as they're needed.
Thank you, Dada. Yeah, it's important work they're doing there. It's fantastic, and I appreciate the help that you were able to give. So
they're so happy to get fresh produce.
Yes.
Fresh, healthy food that makes them all feel better.
Well, yeah, I've worked with Steve for several years now and worked at the farmer's market, and I'm helping him get the message out each Wednesday and Saturday where the market's going to be posted and trying to help him with some fundraising. And definitely what he's doing with the farmers and everything it's wonderful. So
yeah.
So on that, I want to help Lahaina rebuild. I believe that we, as a community, now have a unique opportunity to reshape our town in a way that champions justice, equality, and inclusivity. I dream for something even better, a community where every resident feels seen, heard, and valued. I want this not only for Lahaina, but for the whole world. So, Dada, how do you think we can build Lahaina back better? What alternatives are already working elsewhere that we can learn from? So, for example, PROUT, the progressive utilization theory, says that everyone's basic necessities should be guaranteed: food and water, clothing and housing, education and medical care. Then how can we make Hawaii more food sustainable and secure when currently we're importing 85 to 90% of our food?
The U.S. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is also very concerned about food sustainability. They calculate that Hawaii, like all the other states, has a food supply that will only last for 3 to 5 days. If for any reason the air and ship transportation breaks down. So, of course, Steve Phillips, Superbata, and Local Harvest are showing a way, encouraging 100 local farmers to grow organic food. Today, the average age of Hawaii's farmers is 61.8 years old. They're old farmers. Most farmers in Hawaii today are reluctant to leave their tractor cabs air-conditioned and do the hard physical labor required to grow organic food for the table. We need to inspire young people and train them how to grow food. And the banks and the U.S. Department of Agriculture have to be more willing to lend money to new farmers who want to grow organic food. PROUT recognizes that agricultural cooperatives are the ideal form of farm management for many reasons. Cooperatives enable farmers to pool their resources together, purchase inputs, and store and transport their produce more easily. They also eliminate the intermediaries. Farmers usually get 5 to 10% of what you pay in a supermarket for their produce. And one of the great benefits is that farmers, especially if they have animals, they can never take a vacation ever. They have to work 24/7. So being in a cooperative means families can take vacations sometimes, and they can share the work. And it allows families to decide their future. Animal husbandry is another problem. Domestic animals for thousands of years fertilized soil and turned grass into milk. But today there are 70 billion farm animals, 10 animals for every human being on the planet. And there's not enough pasture land for all these animals, so 2/3 are kept in cages or pens in factory farms, they call it. These animals consume 50% of the world's grain, and it takes 7 kilos of plant protein to make just 1 kilo of meat protein on average. And they're emitting 14.5% of greenhouse gases. So, for so many reasons, to choose a plant-based diet will help the planet. It will help everybody. Christy?
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about what you were talking about, Dada, and about the animal. And, it's amazing because, I know that food prices have risen all over the world, but to get a half gallon of milk on Hawaii is $8 or $9. And I believe that, the milk has to be processed on the mainland. So even though it's the milk, anyway, it's just the absurdity sometimes where they actually they export the milk to be passed or something like that, and then it's exported back. And same thing with the beef cattle. The Maui grown beef, they say like they only actually bring it over in the last 3 months of their lives or something to graze on the grass. Because anyway, so thank you, Dada, for bringing that forward. Sorry about the pause there. After this fire, like many disasters, real estate companies try to buy land cheap to build luxury buildings. I mean, we have that displayed all over. We have monstrous hotels. How can we prevent that from happening this time in Lahaina?
As you know, there are more than 10,000 homeless people on the different islands in Hawaii, and there are a good number of homeless people in Lahaina when the fire happened. So this one organization, Regenerative Education Centers, is building 200 tiny homes in Lahaina. Tiny homes are being built in other places. My good friend in Eugene, Oregon, is doing that for the homeless. Ideally, these tiny homes should have electricity, water, and toilet. But everybody deserves a home. One problem, to prevent real estate vultures, the governor has asked for a moratorium on land sales in West Maui, where Lahaina is, so that people don't sell out of stress. And this community land trust on Maui, which already exists, is another way to go, because community land trusts, they own the land in perpetuity. And a family can build a house or buy a house. They only need 5% of the down payment, and the land trust will help them get the financing they need. So the land trust prevents the rising prices. On Hawaii, 3 times the cost of a house on the mainland of the United States. It's 3 times more expensive in Hawaii. And so this is one practical way to keep houses affordable for low and middle income families.
I think it's important, Dada, and something I wanted to talk about too was, when you talk about the tiny homes, there was a fundraiser here actually in California where I'm staying to raise money to buy 300 tiny homes and they actually have Matson set up to transport them over, and which is needed because I have several friends that are currently staying in hotels in Kaanapali, which is 10 minutes outside of Lahaina. And currently, FEMA has now given it to Red Cross, but they have no idea how much longer they're going to be allowed to stay there. And now tourism is supposed to be opened October 8th on the west side. So there's a lot of unknown, a lot of fear and displacement, and also an urgency. And so I think that's really important about the tiny homes. And then, of course, the land trust, I think, is a forward path for the future for us that we can really explore. So thank you for that.
And what you're saying is that they're staying in hotels and an emergency.
Yes, they're saying,
But
yes,
when they allow tourists to come back, they'll probably not be allowed to stay any longer in the hotels.
yes, and there's no housing. There really is no housing at this point for a lot of them, or affordable housing.
Right.
So that there is it's definitely gonna be a and we're looking
Right.
at 5 to 10 years for rebuilding. So
Yeah.
so thank you for that.
Wow, it's a long time.
Yes, it is. So speaking of rebuilding, because part of the thing is the infrastructure. Hawaii has the highest rates in the country. Maui Electric Company, MECO, generates power almost exclusively by fossil fuels, contributing to climate change. Is there any way Maui could be fully sustainable on renewable energy and stop contributing to climate change?
Yes. See, MECO is an investor-owned utility. It's capitalist. So its primary clients are the people who give it money, and they're trying to produce a profit every quarter. They're not concerned so much about the customers and becoming renewable. On another island in Hawaii, the island of Kauai, they also had a private electric company that entrepreneurs bought out 20 years ago and turned it into a cooperative. So this cooperative on that island, the electricity rates are the lowest utility rates in the whole state. And the cooperative is transitioning to 100% renewable energy sources. This is doable. The people of Maui could buy the electric company out, make it into a cooperative, and because there are 900 other electric cooperatives in 47 states, this is quite doable.
Yeah, it does appear very doable. And speaking about, what about water utilities? The conflict over water rights on Maui between the plantation owners and the local people has been going on for 200 years. What does PROUT say about that?
Water should also be a public utility cooperative, run on a no profit, no loss basis. Maui should prioritize surface water over well water for irrigation. And it should be constructing lakes and small ponds to capture rainwater.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, I think that message is definitely being shared throughout the community right now. So hopefully we're moving in a positive direction in that terms. So one of the reasons for wildfires and is our lack of native trees in Hawaii. Forests were cut down and planted with non-native grasses to make pasture land for cattle. How can we reforest Maui?
Terraformation is an exciting nonprofit that was started on Maui by Yishan Wang, who is the former CEO of Reddit. He had retired, but he started to feel the need to work for climate change. And reforestation is calculated it could solve 30% of the climate change problem. So he started this terraformation. They have planted 17,000 native trees, and they use solar panels to provide electricity to desalinate the water, ocean water or brackish water, and then to drip irrigation to all the 17,000 trees. So they have an 80% survival rate. And this continual irrigation allows a forest to grow fast instead of slowly. Native trees, their goal is planting 1 trillion trees worldwide with different community organizations. They're working now in Africa and everywhere, trying to get this model everywhere, and also having seed banks, which of course is fundamental for PROUT too, to preserve all the different seeds and make all the seedlings. So every time they do more reforestation, they have all the seedlings ready to plant. So this is exciting to me.
Yeah, it's very exciting for me too, because I've been volunteering at a culture site about 10 minutes outside of Lahaina, Kapuka, Alawalu, and their goal is to reforest a hupa'a, which is from mountain to the sea, and they have 750 acres. But they've also been working with some organizations. So there was a small fire in Alawalu just months before this devastating fire in Lahaina. And there was a small organization that had brought in some drones, and they were dropping pili grass seeds, which is native grass, on the fire zones. And again, it was just a small effort, but a recommendable effort. So I'm glad to see this. And I know they've also started some tree farms. So I think it's obviously gonna take a world community effort, but so I'm happy to hear that there's such a great organization that's already taken this on. So that's fantastic. So thank you, Dada. We as fire victims and our surrounding island neighbors have experienced a lot of trauma this last month. Can you recommend something we can do to help us heal?
I'm glad you asked that question. In the struggle to build a better Maui, we should not neglect our own internal peace. We all have an inner desire for peace and happiness. External objects cannot satisfy this inner longing because the pleasure they offer is only temporary and finite. So we have to journey inside. Daily meditations are very practical. It can be done by anyone, anywhere, anytime. It's a key to personal transformation, a powerful tool to overcome the negative instincts and mental complexes we all have. How to meditate. Meditation dates back thousands of years in every culture, but the process is these 5 things are pretty universal for all kinds of meditation. Close your eyes. Okay, the Zen Buddhists have their eyes half closed, but they sit in front of a blank white wall, so there's nothing to see. Sit straight and still. Breathe deeply. Focus your mind. Now, here's where there's more variation between different kinds of meditation, what they're focusing on. But they all agree you should practice every day in order to get better at it. There are so many benefits of meditation. It calms us, it improves our mental health, it helps us to overcome insomnia, depression, and mental complexes. It increases our memory, concentration, willpower, self-control, self-esteem, and tolerance. It develops mental peace, wisdom, compassion, and unconditional love. When I give talks at colleges and high schools and other organizations, I ask people, are any of you interested in any of these benefits? Invariably, people laugh and somebody says, we want all of them. Well, then I think you should try meditation. It's a very beautiful process to bring you mental peace. It's the key to lasting and profound change.
Thank you, Dada. I so agree. All
And I
right.
have,
Go on.
I want to hear your final words because
Okay.
you inspire me. That's why.
Thank you, Dada. In the face of adversity, the true strength of a community emerges. Lahaina's legacy is not solely defined by the tragedies we've endured, but more powerfully by our collective resilience, our unified dreams, our unwavering commitment to a brighter, more equitable tomorrow. The wisdom we've gained from our past, the invaluable lessons etched by our losses, and the alternative initiatives and organizations that Dada Maheshvarananda has mentioned today, together paint a promising horizon. And while the concept of home often finds its definition in the physicality of our surroundings, it's also the intangible sanctuary within our hearts, where we foster resilience, hope, and community. This dialogue isn't merely a contemplative gaze at our history. It's an assertive leap towards the future we envision. Together, as a united community with shared values and dreams, we will ensure that Lahaina of tomorrow is a beacon of hope, resilience, and inclusivity for the world to see. I've started to believe that even such a profound tragedies as the Lahaina fire carry an underlying meaning. Bolstered by a supportive and loving global community, I stand resilient, deeply rooted in spirituality, and rejuvenated with a newfound hope and purpose. And Dada, I just really appreciate you being here today, and I appreciate everyone being here today and allowing us to share this conversation and share this story. And